It's gonna take a bit. So an indicator of when it gets added is just gonna show up to our tabs. Right, so now I have render tools. So with render tools, right, again, I don't have a lot of components, but once we have all the components, we're gonna add the correct appearance to it. If it's something that's bronze, if something is stainless steel, if something is, right, we can even add the color. If it's plastic and it has, if it's green, we're just gonna make the material plastic and apply a green appearance to it. Does that make sense? You wanna, right, half of this, probably more than half is the setup. Trying to get your parts right, just like again with Photoshop and whatever. Let's say you have a video editing software, right? 90% of it is just you spending time prepping, and 10% of just hitting the render button, right? And it does its thing. It's the same thing here. A lot of it is going to be us spending time to get everything, the appearance right, the angle. We can do cameras, lights, all that in there. And we'll go through that. So that's more complex. Once we have our assembly, we'll add those stuff in it. But I'll show you guys a basic render. You can render up to like 8K, but it takes a long time depending on the CPU and GPU on your computers. So maybe for your final project, you might have a render for an hour while you're doing something else. But again, the higher the resolution, just like, again, if you're exporting a file in Photoshop or iMovie, right? The higher the output resolution, the longer it's going to take. Right? It's just going to run through those pixels. So the first thing that SOLIDWORKS asks is the appearance of the model or the assembly. So again, SOLIDWORKS has built-in appearances, and then with the more complex assembly, we can add everything. So for this, it's pretty simple, right? It's just one part. So if I click Edit Appearance, I get this appearance tab right here, and I can open that up. So I got plastics, metal, painted, rubber, glass, solid, lights, fabric, stone, miscellaneous. So if I go to, let's say, plastic, I have high gloss, medium gloss, low gloss, soft touch, textured, clear plastic. Again, patterned, there's so much stuff. And with each one, there's different stuff. So it's a huge library of different things, and you're basically just gonna, right, you're literally just taking it and adding it to, it's not letting me do this, so let me just take my appearance a little bit. Right, and it's gonna ask you, do you wanna just do it for the face? So whatever you dragged it, you want to do it for that feature, your body, or the overall part. Right? So you can have different faces, different colors if you want. With more parts, you're gonna keep just dragging appearances to it. Or you can apply the appearance before, and once you import it to the assembly, it's automatically there. So for this, let's say I grab this and I change my part. Again, there's different stuff. One thing to point out, if I do like glass, I do clear glass. If I do through the whole part. When I render this, it's going to take forever because it's going to try to, right, if something is behind it, depending on the shadow, and it's going to try to get it as realistic as possible, right? So it's going to take forever. But I mean, it's photo view, right? So it's honestly realistic. So everything in a catalog is rendered, right? They're not going to come up and take a picture of a part. So everything is done using 3D modeling software. Everything you see on the internet is rendered. So again, it's just time spent prepping your models and your environment for that picture. I'm just gonna change it to something, right? Again, right? You can get really creative with this. plastic, we can do, there's some textured stuff, right? So T11, right, you have that texture. Right, it's a huge library, different things. Can you guys see this? Is that better? But honestly, you can get really, it's just spending time prepping. All rendering is knowing where things are and knowing what you want your output to be. So again, just really knowing what material you want to apply, stuff like that. That's all it is. It's so appearance, right? So we're done with that. Let's say we're happy with the material, and again for this, it's one part. It might take you like an hour if you have an assembly that consists of like 50 parts and you want to make sure every part has the correct appearance for it, right?
So each part gets rendered separately?
No, it gets rendered together, but it might take longer once it gets to it, depending on the complexity and the appearance that you apply. So we'll render something so you'll see how it is. But let's say we're happy, right? It's one part. We chose the right appearance that we want to apply. The next thing is scene. Again, you have those scene right here, right? So those are just some built-in SolidWorks defaults, right? So we can do edit scene. And again, just another one, right? So there's this appearance, and there's scenes, right? There's basic scenes. There's studio scenes, so I can add it anywhere. There's presentation scenes. Right.
No swimming pools, huh?
You can always add your own picture. There is, right, there's landscape one, there's some stuff here.
Is there water?
Let's see, there is, I don't know.
You're asking for too much.
I'm just asking. Hey, what the heck? It's
There you
all-
go.
You can't put it into the water, you can just.
No, it's just.
But I mean,
Let's
right?
take it
You can also add an image, a background, and just import it like Photoshop. Again, just you import that, browse, stuff like that. You can do reflections. This is the basic one. For the advanced, this is when we choose our size, our rotation, environmental rotation, stuff like that. And then there's this photo view 360 lighting. So you have all your background brightness, rendering brightness. You can toggle this on, right? We're not gonna get into anything too complex, just because honestly these computers won't be able to handle very large, complicated renderings. But let's say we're happy with the scene. And again, we can add more things. Decals, right? We can show different things on our, right, if it's a trademark or something like that, or you have your own logo, stuff like that. So feel free to import those and place them wherever you want. So that's basically it. All these other stuff are options, right? So there is, this is if you want to schedule your render. We'll jump into options in a bit. There's the render region if you have a specific render region. And we can do options, right? So use SolidWorks View. And then this is the resolution. image format, right? If you want it to be a JPEG or anything else, where you want it to be saved. So this is important, the render quality. So there's a preview render. So you always want that to be good, and because you really don't care what your preview looks like. You want your output to have the quality you want, right? So if my output is, if I want my output to be the best, I can care less what my preview is, right? Because if my preview is best and my output is best, it's just gonna take way more time to get there. But all I care about is the output, right? So for this, let's say I put that at better. Again, this is a small file, so I'm going to keep that. I want it to render somewhat quick. I click OK. All I have to do is just click Final Render. Now you can add a camera, or at least a non-perspective view. I don't really usually add cameras with my renderings, but you can. So you can do add camera, and that tells you your camera angle, and you can do so much stuff. You can do floating, aimed at target, and if you know your theta, your height, right, you can get very precise. There are literally people that get paid just to render things, right? It's just a very complicated package, and the more time you spend on it, the more you know. I'm not going to add a camera for what we need to do. I'm just going to do a final render.